Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me and spending part of your Friday with me. I'm Greg Swartz. I'm the big man half of Big Man Wee Dram. Here's my Wee Dram. I'm happy to say, after doing these for a few weeks in a row with no Wee Drams, it was just me and some seltzer. But now I've returned to my love of whiskey. Well, the love was never gone, just the lover. This week I'm very excited because most of the time when we do these, I'm talking with people who I know or I've known before or had some interaction with before. But this week my guest is Christoph Albietz, who is a brand ambassador for Torabhaig, which is a whiskey I know, which is the dram I'm drinking. But we've never met. Oops, here we go. There we go. The focus is a little bit slow, but anyway, I'm going to welcome him in now, and hopefully you'll have a dram along with us, and hopefully you have some questions for us. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for joining us.
I've been just unpacking my bottle too to show it.
So you have the new release?
I have the new release with me, but I got the first release as well. So I poured the first release into my glass at my preparation, right? And this is actually the second release.
Ah, yeah. I only have the legacy.
Yeah.
I'm jealous. I think it's probably safe to say that most of the people, certainly here in the US, who will watch this, haven't had Torabhaig yet.
It was. It's the same in Germany. There was only very few bottles that we could release, so not everybody who wanted a bottle actually got a bottle. That's sad, but
yeah, this is my second bottle, but I'm about to be out. It's very low, so by the time you and I are done, I'll probably.
I've got stock. You're welcome anytime here.
I'll have to head over to Germany. No, I actually, while Christoph and I were speaking beforehand, I looked. If you're in Southern California, Total Wine in Pasadena has 6 bottles in stock. I shouldn't say that because now when I'm done here, they'll be gone. So we don't have any comments. We have our questions. We have a comment here. Hello, my lovely Torabhaig. So can you tell me when was the first bottling release, and was it released globally, the first one?
The first one was released globally, but not at the same time. In Germany and Switzerland and Austria, where I'm in charge of the rollout, we launched the first release on February 19th, and it was sold out at the 20th.
Wow.
It was like...
I definitely want to talk about that more, because that seems to be what's happening with all these new whiskeys that come online. They're like hen's teeth. They're there and gone, so quickly. That had to be exciting, yeah.
I've been following what was happening with all the releases before Torabhaig got released. And I've watched what happened, and I've been expecting some, let's say, recognition. And I've prepared my colleagues as well. And but what happened was more than even I was expecting. It was just crazy. It was wonderful and crazy at the same time. I've been sitting for a week straight, nailed to my laptop. And I've just been answering emails and requests, and we need more, or where can I find a bottle? And that's that for a week straight.
David Allen, who's the head of sales at Springbank, said to me once that his job title shouldn't be head of sales; it should be head of telling you why you can't have as much whiskey as you would like. Because they sell out. Like that. That's a good problem to have, yeah. It's better than having it sit.
It's a very luxurious problem.
Before I get too far away here, cheers. I'm going to sip this now.
Cheers. Slange. That's actually the first release too here in my glass.
So one of the things that was interesting was for me, I paid pretty close attention to the whiskey comings and goings, the industry every day. I'm on various email, normal stuff, not secret stuff like emails and social media stuff. And it's cool because you can see waves of interest building and stuff, And then I know I said this to you before, but when Torabhaig got released, it got released in the UK. And a lot of the people I knew in the UK were saying, "Oh, I got this and I got this and I bought this." And, I could see it on social media, the people that we talk to all the time. And then I looked at my local K&L, which is a big wine and spirits chain in California. They had it in stock. But the word of mouth hadn't hit here yet. And I went and they had a lot and I bought it. But then a couple days later, then the word of mouth hit and it was instantly gone. And it was kind of cool. Yeah. You could almost watch the wave roll, here, Lynn Schatz, who is a friend of the film, said that she asked for it and all she got was laughter. I believe Lynn is in Chicago. So,
yeah, I think it's, you couldn't find it at Binny's, but there were some places that were carrying that brand for the first release. It got released a little later than in Europe, I think. And it was about as much, a little more than we got in Germany. Maybe Germany and Switzerland together, that was the amount of bottles that went to the US.
Well, it's a really lovely whiskey. I mean, it really speaks to me. My personal tastes really, line up. I love peated whiskey. And I like the peating point is kind of unique, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just wanting to say, it is on paper, it is extremely peaty. It is peatier than most of the whiskeys that come from Islay, with the exception of Octomore, obviously, and maybe one or two releases that came from Artbeck. But the first release is made from batches between 55 to 60 ppm, parts per million fennel, peat smoke in the grain before distilling. And we are actually writing on the bottle, if you turn the bottle around, what is left. The residual phenol level is 16.
Yes.
So this sounds not much, and yeah.
Sorry, I was just letting people read along with you. Go ahead.
Yeah. This sounds like it's not much, but you can't really compare it to something, because I don't know any other distillery that gives you that number. They are all telling you what the ingrain fennel level is before distilling, but not what is left over. There's no super lab. You maybe the bigger number is always the number you that sounds better.
Right.
You know what
sure,
I mean?
Yeah. Is it El Sabé? It's a very small release from Grant and Sons, right? But I think they do a post in bottle ppm as well. You can their whole marketing when they released it was about all the data points you could get. There were tons of data points. Wired magazine, they did an article about the whiskey just because of the data points. But yeah, yours is the only sort of widely known whiskey that are official bottling that I know of doing that for sure.
We're all for transparency. There's a lot more on the back of the bottle. For example, we used only concerto barley for that release. We name the yeast we have used. We name what barrels we've used, and the phenol level before and after. And I think that is quite unique. And we want to continue doing that. And the feedback from almost everybody is they really like that level of transparency.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that it's funny. All of the new distilleries seem to have, almost all, have adopted an honest, a transparency, a sort of it's almost like a whiskey lover's approach to the whiskey. Like they're going to give you everything you want to know, and you guys are certainly a big part of that. And I think that's really cool because you've seen our film, correct?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the things that Mark Renier was trying to do, where he was attacked constantly for doing it, now it's become almost expected of new distilleries to do it, and I think that's a great thing, personally.
And some of the things he did are normal now to most distilleries, new or old.
Yeah. There's a lot of pressure. I mean, just the other day I was watching Aquavite, Roy Duff, and he was talking about the Glenlivet has started releasing illicit still series. There's still an age statement on it. It's 48%. It's not chill filtered. Like they're sort of dipping their toes into this kind of more and more transparency and less Loch Ness Monster.
Yep. But I like the fact that there are still distilleries out there who give you dates and numbers and more information, and tend to rather release whiskey with an age statement than without an age statement. I like that. I prefer that.
Yeah,
I'm a whiskey geek or nerd too. So
yeah, me too. And speaking of age statements, though, so this whiskey drinks a lot older than it is. I mean, this does not taste young. There's no spirit kind of there's none of that sharp edge of a spirit at the front of this at all. I mean, you guys must have used really good casks.
Actually, I can tell you, for the first release, those casks were all from Heaven Hill Distillery. And for that release, we took 100 casks, and that is what got released for a lot of markets around the world. Those 100 casks. So it's a batch made from 100 casks. Yeah, and but I think not only the casks are making that whiskey so approachable as it is. It's also the cut points from our middle cut, which result in a very gentle dram that appears to be older than it really is. And when I'm at fairs and talk to people who are not deeply into the whiskey business or don't really know what Torabhaig is about, and I ask them, what do you think how old it is? Usually they say somewhere maybe 8 or 10 years. That's what they say.
That's what I would have said. Yeah, for sure. There's something in the spirit. It's not in the whiskey altogether, but there's something in the spirit that reminds me a little bit of the cut points of a Macallan, which I think is that kind of narrow cut points, I guess. But I'm not. I can tell you what I sense, but I can't tell you why. Like there's a disconnect in my knowledge, but I think that's a really good thing. I mean, you guys there's so many new distilleries, and they're all a lot of them are of similar age. The distilleries have all in the last year started kind of coming online or releasing whiskeys, and I think it's a real challenge for each to kind of stake a unique selling point. And I think you guys have it in spades. I mean, it's right there. I mean, it's a heavily peated whiskey, but it's got that big Highland character to it. I don't know what. I can only ever compare this whiskey by comparing 2 other whiskeys, not one other whiskey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I 100% understand what you mean. It's hard to compare it to just one distillery. I couldn't name one. We call this style well-tempered peat. We got a lot of peat in that bottle, but it's kind of tamed.
Yeah.
It's well-tempered.
I've only been to Skye once, and the distillery when I was there, the distillery was distilling and whiskey was aging there, but you guys hadn't released anything yet, and I didn't go. I was there with my wife in 2017. So, but I went there in late October, which is great because the island wasn't crowded. There wasn't a ton of tour buses everywhere and everything. My big whiskey memory of Skye though was we went to Talisker, and it was on a Sunday, and we just drove there. We had nowhere else. We had a couple hours till we were leaving, and so we just drove there. And it's closed on Sundays. And there was a group of a van full of Japanese tourists who had come to go to Talisker, and they were sort of rattling the doors, but they spoke no English. And
Okay.
they spoke no English. I speak no Japanese, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. And I was trying to explain to them, and finally I got my phone out and I got a calendar open and I showed them, and I was like, Sunday. And the one guy started crying. I felt so bad, in my mind I was like, I hope this wasn't like the highlight of their tour. Like they went to a bunch of whiskey distilleries, but this was their favorite, and that was my big whiskey moment on Skye. I personally broke the heart of a group of Japanese tourists. It's not my fault; it's Talisker's fault, but I felt bad.
Yeah, a lot of distilleries are open on Sundays.
Yeah.
Maybe not right now through this pandemic, but usually they are. A lot of them are open.
What's the situation at Torabhaig as far as global pandemic aside? Like, is there a big tour component to it? Is there a public face?
Right now, it's almost as if nothing happened. So you obviously have to wear a mask when entering the buildings. But we are touring, we are producing. We're running the stills, and we're producing a lot.
But there's tasting room. I mean, there's like public taste, even normal times. I'm saying.
Well, we offer a little tasting after the tour in a special tasting room. Yes.
Are you guys very committed to the sort of ex-bourbon cask releases, or are you going to do some other wood things as well, or are you not able to say?
If you'd visit our warehouse, you can see any type of cask you would expect there. But yes, there are a lot of ex-bourbon casks, and I personally like ex-bourbon cask whiskies. So
Me too.
I've had a lot of sherry cask whiskies, some, let's say, over sherried whiskies, and I like the elegance of an ex-bourbon cask whiskey.
I like ex-bourbon cask whiskeys that are sometimes finished in red wine casks. That's just a personal favorite of mine. But I love ex-bourbon cask whiskeys for sure.
Yeah. Well, for the next release, that will be starting in 2024. It will be called Croch na Munja, and we hope that some of those other casks are ready and we can introduce them into the mix. So the first release, that was one batch, and as you know, it was gone very, very fast. The second one, the name is Old Glown. You can see it here. Old Glown.
That's Old Valley, Old Glen. Yeah, right.
It's kind of it's the name of one of our water sources, and it's pronounced Glown, like a clown, but with a start soft Glown.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it's pronounced. This is released in several batches, each not more than 30 barrels. Those are all ex-bourbon barrels too. First fill and refill ex-bourbon barrels. And here with that one, I hope you manage to get a bottle soon. You will be surprised because here we went up to 77 ppm. And the residual ppm is Let's see if I don't know if you can see it. So it's over here. So
Yeah, I can't
here,
quite read it.
17.
Okay.
We went from 77 to 17 because we changed the cut points again. That's one thing we did, and you will be surprised. It is very gentle for 77 ppm, but that's what you would expect after trying the 2017 and how approachable it is for 3 years and a couple of months.
Yeah. Well, that's Udo has told me as much, but I haven't I haven't been able to find it yet. So I should save some of this. Otherwise, I won't have anything to sort of do side by side.
Well, the side by side is pretty interesting. The 2017 appears a little more edgy compared directly to the Old Glown, because the Old Glown seems more rounded. Yeah.
Is it older?
It is not much. It is 3 years, couple of months, not really much older than the 2017. And there will be more batches released of the Old Glown, and from batch to batch, we don't change the recipe. It will still be 77 ppm. It's the same yeasts, it's the same casks we used, but we will be slightly older from batch to batch, but the batches won't be named on the bottles.
Okay.
But every release that hits the market will be slightly older than the one before.
Oh, okay. So are you guys eventually going to build up, a sort of a range, or is it going to be, for the time being at least, single releases at a time?
It is the plan right now is the Legacy series. Is a 4-part series. The first one was the 2017, which is the year we started distilling at the distillery. And the second one, Old Glown, is one of our water sources. That's the second release. The third release is Krochnamonje. That's the mountain you see behind the distillery on a lot of pictures. And the fourth release will be the last release. It's called Torabhaig, and that's the other part of our water source. They join very close to the distillery and pass the distillery into the sea. And that series, when it's finished, will be over. So the first one you got right now, then in August we released the Old Glown in Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. I don't know when it will be in the US, but we will find out. 2024, the Old Krochnamonje will start. We'll be there for 2 years. In 2026, the last part, Torabhaig, will start and end with the release of the first 10-year-old Torabhaig in 2028. That's the plan.
Wow. That's a good plan. That's a good long term.
Yeah,
that's great.
There will be some releases in between, some specials or single casks. We are working on a lot of stuff. We're trying out a lot of stuff. We're still on a journey. We try a lot. Yeast, this, that, the barley variety, or settings to the milling, or everything. We're testing. We're where we want to be, but in that area, we are searching for a sweet spot.
Yeah,
put it that way. Yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about. There's got to be a lot of opportunities and a lot of challenges with, you guys are starting to sell whiskey at the same time that Rasse is, and roughly, as Rasse and Nicknayen and Ardner Merkin and on and on and on. That there's a sort of a crowded group of people entering the market at the same time, but everyone seems to be doing great at the moment.
We're in a very luxurious situation. We sell out very fast. Every one of us, Brasi, Nagnian, you name them, all of them, Partner all of the new distilleries. We really have no problem selling our bottles, but we are not able to release a lot. Our plan is to start with a 10-year-old in 2028 and have enough stock then. So we're saving stock and releasing just as much as we need, as less as possible to build up a stock for a solid 10-year-old.
Do you sell to blenders at all, or are you entirely single malts, your own self-produced single malts?
We don't sell new make, and we don't sell casks. No private casks. At the moment, we're keeping everything we can at the distillery.
What's the production volume at the distillery? Do you know?
Well, if we are running full, we will be able to produce like round about 1 million bottles a year, but we're not there yet.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's tempting, I think, right? I mean, I know people say that when they first started selling whiskey, Kilchoman kind of got a little bit ahead of themselves, and they were selling everything, so they would just keep going, and then they had to sort of rein it back in, or they were never going to have a age statement whiskey ever.
Yeah,
it's intoxicating.
I think sometimes it's hard. You want to sell some casks to get some money right in the beginning. There's a lot of money to be spent, but nothing really to earn unless you're selling new make or casks. So a lot of distilleries do that and keep the casks for the owners, and sometimes they try to buy them back to have stock.
I worked at the Glasgow distillery for a week before we shot our movie. And each day I did a different step of production. And then the final day I filled 12 casks of spirit that I had sort of shepherded through the whole week. And then I bought one of those casks. I own
that's
one
very
of those
cool.
casks. So it becomes whiskey on Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to have a party.
Very cool.
I
would love to do that too.
I
would love to own a barrel of Torabhaig, but it's not possible. We're not selling to nobody, not even me.
One of the dumb mistakes I made early on in making our movie was that the day we interviewed Charlie McLean for the first time, he said we should buy. He said you guys should look into some of these new distilleries and buy casks. And I didn't listen to him at the time, and at the time I could have. This was 3 years ago, but then now it's just none of them are available. Everything's waitlisted. C'est la vie.
and they've gotten more and more expensive.
Yes, they have, for sure. So we have some questions. Our friend Bill Varnell said, "Who is the master distiller at Torabhaig, and what is his or her background?"
Our master whiskey maker is Mr. We have put him on bottle and on the box, but I'm not quite sure if you can see the color. It's written in on. I'm gonna try with the bottle. Give me a second. If you got a bottle at home, okay, I have to find a spot here. You can find the name. It is Neil MacLeod Matheson.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
And
let me see if I can.
Right on top, we've written a whiskey maker. Yeah. It's red. So I have some issues in reading red written words, but you can see down there. It's Neil MacLeod Matheson, and he's our mastermind. And but we have 9 brewers and distillers in total, and they are all from the Isle of Skye, and they've not been working in the whiskey business before, except one. Iona was working for Talisker before, as a tour guide, and all the others that joined us haven't been working in the whiskey industry before, and we've hired, or we were lucky to find some business legends to as mentors for those 9 brewers and distillers, and they are all already two of those are at the university, and all the others are brewers and distillers already. So we've gotten really far.
So where did Neil come from? Is he from Skye, or was he at a different distillery before?
I think Neil, I don't know where he's born or where he grew up, but he is located in England, and that's why he founded the business. And yeah, he is now, I think, most of the time when he's not on a fair or somewhere for an interview or a tasting, he's in London.
Oh, okay. Did you guys early on, like long before you ever sold a whiskey, did you decide what this is going to be, what's going to make us unique? I mean, because it feels like I said earlier, I think your whiskey has a really unique selling point. You know, it's this heavily peated whiskey it's a Highland whiskey. It's heavily peated. It's got its own, you know, like the peat is both very high and very tamed at the same time. You know, it's beautiful. Did you know that ahead of time, or did you kind of just develop that as you were sort of working? That was the plan from day one.
That was the plan from day one. That was the vision. Yeah. And everything we did was finding out how to get there.
Do you get the peat from Skye?
No.
You know?
It's from Aberdeenshire.
Oh, okay. Does Baird's do your malting?
Not Baird's. No, it's Crisp.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Baird's is in Inverness. Yeah. Oh,
right. I know that Bruichladdich does everything on Islay except their peat doesn't come from Islay. We have a Connell McKenzie says hello.
Hello, Connell.
And we have a question for you. Is it possible to buy shirts, hoodies, or glasses in Austria from Torabhaig? I assume that's for you.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Those are the next 2 questions we had. So one of the questions that I have is did you guys decide you were going to make it? Because to me it really feels like this whiskey feels like Skye, you know, from the sort of smokiness, having been there in the cold months, and you kind of get that in the air and people are burning it, so it's sort of it feels of its place, you know. It doesn't feel out of place, like it was made in Fife, but it's this heavily peated whiskey or something where there wouldn't be a ton of peat. You know, was that part of the design? Like, this is going to be a whiskey that feels like Skye? Because I think the best Islay whiskeys feel like Islay. You know, I think Springbank feels like Campbellton.
Well, it was the plan to produce this whiskey as it is, a heavily peated but smooth island style whiskey, and I think there is some sort of terroir you can pick up, and I hear a lot that people compare it to Talisker, of course, because it's the only other distillery on the same island, and sometimes I hear, there's a nice like a peppery note, like that chili catch I get from Talisker. I hear that a lot, and I hear a lot of comparing to Islay whiskies or other island whiskies, and but the intention was to make this whiskey like that, a part of where it is from, the terroir, the people, the history there. Yeah, and that's what it is.
Do you know? I have a really good question that came in. I'm going to ask you in a moment, but I want to bring something up. Do you know Blair Bowman, the founder of World Whiskey Day and whiskey writer? He's in our film. Blair created a thing called the tube map of whiskey, and it's a subway map of how, if you like this whiskey, you will like this whiskey. Then try this one and this one and this one. And it's very cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, that map was made before you guys existed. But if anyone was going to make a map that connected Islay to Highland whiskeys, you guys would be the bridge. And he has a bunch of bridge whiskeys that connect different regions. And this whiskey is so much like, if you love Highland whiskeys and you want to go to Islay, this is a great bridge to use, and vice versa. And so, but that I've sort of answered this question, but I'm gonna. Keith Duncan is a huge supporter of our film and a friend of ours, and he's been great. And he's in Scotland, and he says, I will put it up here, I've never tried Torabhaig. Love Pete. So where do I start? He's in Edinburgh. Keith, unless I'm mistaken, you're in Edinburgh, right? Or the Edinburgh area. So you should be able to source a bottle somewhere. I hope. One of the releases. There's only been. I'll let you answer this one.
Yeah. I think you will manage to find a bottle in Edinburgh. There will be another release of the Old Clown somewhere in November. So stay tuned. Keep your eyes open and your ears, and you will find a bottle. And that's that's where to start, because you probably won't find any of the others, except you're spending a lot of money on eBay.
So in the UK, the legacy is gone. Yeah.
The first edition, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You will find some bottles on eBay, but you pay like double or 3 times the price.
I probably shouldn't have drunk through this bottle in 3/4 as fast as I did.
But you've had fun, I'm sure.
I have. I just discreetly poured myself another. So my Friday productivity is over.
Mine as well, but it's almost it's 20 minutes to 11 p.m. here. So it's okay.
Well, I'm keeping European hours right now. I got nowhere to be. So, I do this every week. I always tell my guests that we're going to go about a half an hour, and we always go over, and we have again. But one thing I wanted to bring up is, because this is how you and I met, is so 2 years ago, I was lucky enough to go to the Celtic Castle in Germany, which is a little the brainchild of Udo Sontag, our friend, and Matthias Hartl, and where a 700, 800-year-old German castle turns into a Scottish castle for a weekend. And it is amazing. And I highly recommend, if anyone can go to it, you do. It's absolutely incredible. I was one of my favorite whiskey experiences of all time. And if you've seen our film, there's a couple of shots in the film of Jim McEwen leading a Highland toast. That's in the castle.
Yeah.
Not at the very beginning of the film, but near the end.
Yeah.
And hanging out in this castle for 3 days and drinking whiskey was amazing. And I know this year that Charles McLean is going to be there, and Robin Lang, but I also know that Torabhaig is and Bruichladdich are the two presenting distilleries. Correct? You guys are the main sponsor of the festival this year, yeah?
Correct. Yeah, we are the main sponsor of the festival, and there will be a couple of tastings, all leading to a huge one on Sunday, hosted by Charles McLean. So this is going to be in November this year. We are really looking forward to. There will be a Torabhaig lounge there. You can try also the first release in the Torabhaig lounge, and the second release. Um, yeah, and all the other Mossman bottlings we've got.
Well, there you go, Keith Duncan. All you need to do is go to Germany in November.
Yeah.
The Udo sent me a thing. I'm going to share here in a moment. I will put it in the link if anyone wants to learn about it. The Schloss Turnau is the castle. Hold on one second here. I'm going to put a banner up. If you want to learn more about it, I highly recommend it. Oops.
It's a great place with an epic scenery. So first time I went there, I was blown away.
It's absolutely amazing. My dream is, one of the places you can stay at the castle is what's called the Executioner's Cottage. I've not gotten to stay in the Executioner's Cottage, but I'd like to. I'm putting these in the chat because the link is too long to make a banner. So I'm putting these in the chat if anyone would like to see them. I put the first one in English and the second one in German, but I'm very, very jealous that I'm not going to get to go this year because I did go twice and I highly recommend it. And this one will make a good banner. Hold on a second here. Boom, boom, boom. Add banner. Okay, there we go. So I'm looking. Udo put himself as the thumbnail. Nobody wants to see Udo. They want to see the castle. But c'est la vie, Udo.
You can Google
anyway,
it.
Yes, you can. But that is the link to the website for the event itself. I'll actually post that into the chat as well here. What the heck? I highly recommend it if you can go. It's absolutely gorgeous, and the whiskey is amazing, and you'll get a chance to try this, which is really hard to find, and it's amazing as well. And the food is paired to go with it. So I'm not getting paid to say any of this either. I always point that out. Like I'm just saying this because I honestly mean it. I'm not. So.
And there may be a surprise bottling you can try there.
Oh, now I'm gonna have to go. It's funny because it's in such a little tiny village. Turnau is, I don't know how many people are there, but it's very, very small. But I could fly. I did this the second time I went. I can fly nonstop from LA to Frankfurt and then drive from there. And it was awesome. Just how you just sort of, you're in sort of medieval past all of a sudden.
If you want to fly in a little closer, Nuremberg is probably the closest airport there, I think, or Munich. Munich is a little closer than Frankfurt too. But coming from LA, I think Frankfurt or Zurich are two options, and Zurich is too far away.
Yeah, well, Lufthansa has nonstop flights from LA to Frankfurt, so it was one flight, which made it great.
Yeah,
it was one flight, and then an hour or 2 hour drive. I don't remember, but
it's nothing for an American. I know from my relatives. You drive hours.
I drove across the country 3 times in the last year. The guy who wrote the score for our film is a friend of mine, and he is an audio. He used to work for a lot of big bands and toured the world. And he said to me once, he said, in Europe, they think 100 miles is far, but 100 years is nothing. And in America, we think 100 years is far, but 100 miles is nothing. I thought I love that.
That is 100% right. I've went to I think my last visit is 3 or 4 years ago in the US. We've been to, I'm not really sure, maybe it was Galena. And I've seen a sign, the oldest house in Galena, and it was like from 1890. And I thought, oh, this is all you got? Yeah, but everything is smaller here. So distances are much smaller here. Yeah.
I have a Scottish friend who lives in America now, and we went to Philadelphia, which is about as old as America gets. And we were walking through the old city in Philadelphia, my friend said, "This is amazing. This house is 250 years old." And he said to my Scottish friend, he said, "Aren't you amazed by this?" And he said, "My dad's house is older than that."
A lot of our castles are around about 1,000 years old.
The cool thing about the Schloss Turnau is each wall is a different century. You can actually walk around. I've been there. I've spent enough time there now. You can actually walk around it. They kept adding on to it, so there's different centuries to it. But the executioner's cottage is outside.
I haven't
outside
seen
the
that.
castle walls.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to ask to see it. You really should. It's on the lake. There's a pond behind a lake behind it. It's on the lake.
Okay.
But it's just a cottage. You wouldn't know it had a sort of grim past if you didn't know it. But I want to stay there. So, well, anyway, I know it's late for you. I will let you go. Thank you so much. This put a dent in my bottle, but that's a good thing. I'm not complaining. I'm gonna have to save it until I find the Alt Clown. Alt Clown,
correct.
Yeah,
very good.
I'm gonna have to source that. But this is so much fun. I'm really glad I got to talk to you because I we hadn't met before. So I'm learning along with anyone else who's watching this. So
yeah, we can totally do this again if you like. There's a lot more to tell about Torabhaig, and I'm happy to do it. And thank you for having me.
Oh, well, I'd love that. So yes, come back. And yeah, thank you for joining me, and have a good weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.